Hello, everyone. How are you doing? Welcome to the PM Playbook podcast. I'm really excited about this special guest that I have today, and we're going to be talking about personal branding for PMs. All right. So, without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to the guest to introduce herself. Ali?
What's up, everybody? So, Mokhtar, first of all, thank you for having me. It is an honor to be on your podcast. And with my 5 years of PM experience, I think I have a lot to teach your audience, especially with personal branding. Having almost 900,000 followers on social media now, where I only talk about career development. I'm really excited to get into the episode. And also, can we define PM? Is this project management, program management, or product management?
Good question. I would say project program managers, and by extension, because there's a lot of overlap, we can also
Yeah.
do product managers as well. Yeah.
Cool. Everything. All right.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Well, so 900,000 followers. So you're the right person to be talking to about PM personal branding. Yeah.
I think
And
so.
you're a PM. Nice. Nice. You're probably, I was going to say, are you the PM with the most followers? I don't know anybody who else.
Definitely. Definitely. No, I have no idea.
Nice.
But
Nice.
it wasn't always like that. I had a long journey to get there.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. So, why should people stick around until the end of this episode? What will they gain from this episode?
So, I started out my corporate journey with so much turbulence. I wish I had a mentor. I wish I had somebody telling me things that they wish they would have known when they were starting out. So that is me for your listeners today. If you want to make healthy shortcuts in your career, if you don't want to learn the hard way from things that I already learned the hard way, and maybe Mokhtar, you've learned the hard way too, and we can help share what we've learned to empower people. The learning curve might not be so steep, and the barrier to entry or the threshold for success might be lowered from this podcast episode. So I would encourage people to stick around, especially if they're already, 3 minutes in. That's another 25 minutes.
I know. Yeah. So no, definitely. I'm a big believer in just, you don't need to make the same mistakes that other people have made. And especially like if this is something that you do and you help other people, I guess, get results, then why don't you're sort of in a very good position. You've learned from your own mistake and you're also learning from other people's mistakes as well. So, there's no need to repeat your own mistakes, right? You might as well.
100%.
Yeah. Hey there, just quickly, are you looking for a PM role? Have you been struggling in this insane, crazy job market? Well, if this sounds like you, we might be able to help you. We've helped lots of people land 100 to 300K PM roles. All you have to do is just click on the link below, answer some questions. And if we see that there's an initial fit, you will be invited to a free 30-minute call where we can further assess your job search goals and challenges. And if we see that we'll be able to help you, we would explain to you how we can do that and what the next steps will be. All right, then, back to the show. Okay, so what is personal branding? We hear about this a lot. How would you define personal branding?
So to me, personal branding means how people feel about you and what people say about you when you're not in the room. So if you are not in a meeting and your name comes up and people grimace or they go, oh, that is your personal brand. People might not want to work with you because you are difficult, or they think you're toxic, or you're combative, or just argumentative, or closed-minded. But if your name is mentioned in a meeting, in a room that you are not in, and people go, oh, Allison, she's great. Yeah, let's bring her in on this. Your personal brand is maybe you're creative, you're positive, you're a great collaborator, you're good at keeping alignment with cross-functional teams, you're a great communicator to bring your stakeholders up to speed. So personal branding is how people feel about you and what they think about you and what they say about you when you're not in the room, which in turn will either close doors for you in the future or open doors for you in the future. And you definitely want it to be open doors.
Definitely. No, I love that definition. I love that. Because, this is a term that you hear a lot. And sometimes, I guess for me, it took me a while to even like get comfortable with the term. Like it just felt like, like I don't want to be a brand, it just felt very, very, because I don't even have a marketing background, so why am I branding myself? Like, I don't know, there was something about it that didn't quite feel right. But with your definition is basically, I mean, you would want that. You would want to have a positive reputation, right? Where your reputation is sort of speaking for you when you're not there, right? And that's what really
Yeah.
opens doors, right? So I really love
And
that.
I feel like personal branding is becoming kind of synonymous with being an influencer. And I completely disagree with that. A lot of people will say to me, oh, I don't want to develop my personal brand. I'm an introvert. And the two have nothing to do with each other. So hopefully we can debunk that myth during this episode, because I sort of accidentally became an influencer about all things career development and job searching, but that wasn't my original intent. My intent was just, I want people to know my name at work so that they bring me into cool projects. That's how it really started. And it became something a lot bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm really glad you shared that, because that's where I was going to take the conversation to. Is basically, what do people get wrong about personal brand? Like, what is that thing that many people get?
Yeah. So a lot of people think personal branding is posting on LinkedIn, living out loud, shouting their accomplishments from the rooftop, being not humble, but boastful, not humble bragging, but just cocky bragging out loud. That's not what it is. And I think people also believe they have to be an extrovert to grow a personal brand, or they have to be some genius copywriter or creative writer, or they have to be some video maker. That's not true. You can create a personal brand very slowly over time. In fact, I would recommend it. You can also create a personal brand for yourself overnight, but those usually are not the good ones. That's if you really had a screw up and you did something that either went viral or you got famous for it in the wrong way, and you're going to see yourself on TMZ or the Today Show in a really bad way. So I don't recommend that. An example is a woman named Brittany Peach. I think you say her last name, Brittany Peach. She got laid off and she almost live streamed it. She recorded it and argued during her layoff with her manager on Zoom, and then published it. And she became famous overnight. That's her personal brand now, and she's having trouble getting hired. So alternatively, I recommend creating a personal brand very slowly, almost like breadcrumbs, leading people to what you want them to think about you. So that's my tip.
So speaking of looking for a job, so if somebody, for example, wants to make a career shift, maybe they are an engineer like you were, and they want to become a PM, how can they use their personal brand to help them with that transition?
Good question. So you're right. That's exactly what I did. Back in 2019, I had been an engineer for 6 years, and I really liked talking with people, leading team meetings, doing the cross-functional stuff, managing up, managing down. And I was not feeling like I was doing that as an engineer. So I created a document that listed all of my project management experience. And I walked right into one of the vice president's offices, and I handed it to her and I said, I really want to be a program manager. I know you have an open role. Will you give me a chance? Here's the proof that I can do it. And here's the skills that I have that I think you'll need. And will you give me a shot? And she said yes. And I became a PM overnight.
Nice.
That there was personal branding going on behind the scenes before that. Not any of it was on social media. I did not post on social media much before 2019. COVID started me on my personal branding journey. But within my company, people knew my name. They knew I was pleasant to work with. They liked my bubbly, friendly personality. They thought that I was helpful. And so she knew those things about me, even though we had not had much interaction. And so she was willing to give me a chance because she had a good taste in her mouth when my name came up, so to speak.
Makes sense. No, I like that. And if we're dealing with maybe somebody listening to this might be like, all right, I don't really have previous project experience. Maybe I'm new to the field. Any advice on maybe how they can approach personal branding to sort of make things easier for them to make that leap into becoming a PM?
Yes. And you might think I'm crazy, but stick with me here. So I believe we're all project managers, some of us better than others. But if you've ever planned a birthday party for your parents, that's a project that you have managed. Maybe
Mm,
there's a caterer, maybe there's a band, there's a venue. If anybody's planned a wedding, that's project management. If
mm,
anybody has done a remodel on their home, if anybody has decorated a room with furniture, you have to measure the dimensions, you have to make a list and do a budget and then purchase things and then situate them.
mhm,
So everything in our life is a project. Grocery shopping is a project. We know, we look up a recipe, we make a list of the ingredients, we go to the store, we have a budget, we get them. um, Everything is a project. So you don't necessarily have to go to a senior leader within your company and tell them about all the birthday parties and the grocery shopping trips you've planned. But I would encourage people to reframe their mindset and look around at their life at what they've done that has been a project. So the way that I would define project is it has a start date and an end date. Maybe there's a budget, maybe there's a stakeholder like somebody who cares. So if you're planning a birthday party for your parents are the stakeholders, they care about their birthday party. And maybe there's some cross-functional stuff going on. There's a caterer, there's a band, there's a venue. So a project, I would say, has stakeholders, has cross-functional teams potentially, and has a start date and an end date with a goal in mind.
mhm.
So I would encourage people to look around and see what projects have you done in your life and what skills have you gained in the process, and use those, because I believe that all skills with all projects lead back to PM in the working world.
Yeah, nice. Nice. So let's say somebody goes and finds that project. So what would you recommend they do now? Like, do you recommend social media? Like, where do they take it from there?
So I love a good project portfolio.
Okay.
And if you want to make a free account with canva.com, and
Hmm.
obviously this is not sponsored, I'm just obsessed with Canva, but you can search in their templates space project portfolio, and they have beautiful templates that you can populate with pictures and text. And you can talk about a project you have done, work
Hmm.
related or not, because like I said, all skills are transferable. A
Yeah.
lot of skills are transferable. And you can talk about the skills you've gained, the lessons you've learned, the mistakes you made along the way that you won't make again because you learned not to do it that way.
Yeah.
And you can put a link to it or a PDF of it on your LinkedIn. You
Yeah.
can attach it to your job application with your resume when you're applying for a job. You can send it as an attachment to a recruiter when you're networking.
Mm.
It's kind of like an ace in your back pocket that
Yeah.
is showing people you have PM experience rather
Mm.
than just telling them you have it on a resume.
Nice, nice. Yeah, and I advise my clients to do that as well, because if you think about it, graphic designers, photographers, they all have this portfolio, and it's like
Yes,
just ready for them to, it's usually displayed in a prominent place, or they just send it to you right away. So as a PM, you should have that as well, right? It's kind of like your career highlights, in a nice visual, I guess, formatted properly, right? With the
right.
Canva template. Nice, nice, nice. All right. So let's switch gears a bit. What about if somebody has difficulty just putting themselves out there, right? How would you recommend they handle that challenge?
So, first, I would ask them, why do they think it's difficult for them? Is
Mhm.
it difficult because they're judging themselves, or they have imposter syndrome? And maybe it's a story they're telling themselves about how people aren't going to like what they have to say, or they're not going to be interested, or they're going to be judged.
Mhm.
That is totally within our control, and we can change the narrative, and we can go, actually, I have a lot of interesting stories to tell. Let me just give it a shot. What's the worst that could happen? Or what's the best that could happen? I could
Yeah.
get a job. So I'd ask them why they think that they're having difficulty. But if they're actually trying and they're having difficulty, that's another story. If they're posting on LinkedIn, they're not getting any traction, I would ask a couple questions about that. If they're starting to make videos on, maybe TikTok or Instagram or even LinkedIn or YouTube, and they're not getting traction, I would have questions about that. So it kind of depends on why they think they're having difficulty.
Yeah. Yeah. I think one thing that I noticed is that many people are not comfortable selling themselves. And some people might think that it feels inauthentic, so how would you address that, or what advice would you have for somebody that it just doesn't feel authentic to them to be out there and to sell themselves?
Yeah, when I started doing it, I felt the same way. I felt cheesy. I felt like a used car salesman. Not that there's anything wrong with that profession, but that's how I felt. I felt like that I was peddling my snake oil. I was trying to like shove my religion down people's throats. And I had a support network that was encouraging me to keep going and try to push past that. And I did. And it was wonderful on the other side of that. So I call that cringe mountain. And there's a wonderful little meme, I think from Twitter, and I forget who made it, but it's a picture of a mountain and it's a picture of somebody climbing a mountain. And there's all these naysayers at the bottom of the mountain going, you can't do it. But you're climbing Cringe Mountain. And when you climb Cringe Mountain and you get to the other side, that is called the land of cool. And I would say that I've never met anybody who started a personal branding journey where it was just smooth sailing. So if you are feeling inauthentic, just know that I felt the exact same way. And if you can push past that, you're not going to die. You're not going to get thrown in jail. You're not going to get fired. People might whisper behind your back, but hopefully they're whispering good things like, damn, that girl's got some courage, or like, wow, I wish I could be doing that, which is probably what they're saying behind your back, not look how dumb she looks. That's not what they're saying, I promise you.
Yeah. I know for me personally, before I did my first post on LinkedIn, like I just obsessed about what will people be thinking. And yeah, when I did that, it was like nothing happened. It was the silence. And then actually the opposite of what I was expecting happened. People were like, because I think I did a video first on LinkedIn, and people were like, my goodness, I didn't know you had this in you. Great work and all of that. And I mean, I've grown since then. And sometimes I don't like to go and look back at my old videos because I cringe a bit. I guess that's the cringe side of the cringe mountain. But yeah, I mean, it's just you put yourself out there, and many people want to do that, but they can't, right? So it's courage. And I mean, throughout my journey, I mean, I've had critics, I've had naysayers, but I think overwhelmingly the response has been positive, because I'm not trying to speak on your behalf, but I think maybe this has happened to you, but almost every day or every other day, I get people reaching out to me saying, thank you for sharing that. This story really resonated with me. Like, I read your posts every day. Like they feel, I feel so connected to what you're saying. Right. And, so you're actually just, having a positive impact, in the world. Right. So yeah. Any thoughts on that?
Absolutely. So if you are somebody who is wondering, gosh, are people going to judge me and think I'm an idiot for posting this? Flip it around and ask yourself, are you judging other people when they post? And if the answer is yes, that's oftentimes that we're projecting. So if we're judging other people for posting because we secretly want to, let's stop the judgment and be curious instead. I'm all about curiosity over judgment. You can be curious, like instead of judging them and saying, what an idiot, what they're making a fool of themselves, how embarrassing. You can say, gosh, I wonder what made them want to start posting about that. Or I wonder what kind of courage it takes for them to do that every day. How cool. Another step that I encourage you to do is reach out to them and tell them how awesome it is and ask them how they got started. All of us that are creating personal brands have this cringy moment at the beginning where we're like, is this going to make me look like an idiot? Every single person I have talked to. And I've definitely made videos that have made me look like an idiot. I've been severely canceled before, to the point where I was in the news about it. It was bad. So don't be afraid. I'm still standing. I'm still alive. It wasn't the worst thing in the world. Yeah, it sucked. But like, if you go hard enough, it's going to happen. So if you don't want that, just start small and think about what would be helpful for people. And also think about who you want to read your stuff or who you want to watch your stuff. And then reverse engineer it. What do you want them to learn or think after watching it or reading it? And then approach your content from that direction.
Yeah. And that's a very good point that you mentioned, because I feel like there are different types of people, right? So they're the people that want to, yeah, maybe they want to be influencers in the traditional sense, like they want to reach as many people as possible. They want to build that brand. And then there are people that just want to build a personal brand so that it can help them in their career, right? So
Right.
I feel like those are, two different people. Would you agree or no? Yeah.
I would agree. And I was the latter when I started, and I became the former. So when I first started, I wanted to do really safe content. And I just wanted to grow a personal brand within the company that I worked at the time. I wasn't trying to be famous. I wasn't trying to reach as many people as possible. I just wanted the people at my company to know my name and know that I had great experience, and I wanted to be invited on to new cool projects. And then I went viral for the first time, and I thought, oh, this is interesting. And then I slowly learned over the years, and I don't think I've ever said this on a podcast before, but I have slowly learned how to make inflammatory, sassy content that goes viral. So my videos, I think I have over 1,500 videos that are less than a minute long. And I have over 100 million views on these videos. And I have learned the trick to go viral. And it's to be sassy, it's to be inflammatory, and it's to say something that can be taken the wrong way, not offensive, but just people will comment and they'll go, wait, what did you mean? Did you mean this or this? And then they'll start arguing. That's how you go viral. And I learned that I actually was really into that because it started great conversations. The posts that get 20 likes, they're not really starting great conversations. Maybe a little bit, but the really viral stuff, it can make waves and change things and get featured in the news. And I started to like that. So I went from just trying to create a personal brand at my company to, okay, maybe I could reach tens of millions of people. This is kind of fun.
Nice. Yeah. No, and I'm glad we're making that distinction because, for some people, like, that is what they want. Like, they want to have as, a very broad reach. And then for other people, they don't feel as comfortable with that. They just want a safe, they just want to build a nice career, where they can just move, access the hidden job market, etc. Right. So I'm glad we made that distinction. So if somebody is in the latter category, whereby like they don't want to be inflammatory, is there are there boundaries? Like, is there a line where you say, okay, just don't cross this line, right? Are there some guidelines or guardrails, I should say, for people that don't want to be viral?
Yeah, I would say stay far away from conveying strong opinions that people could really lean against and argue against.
Okay.
Try not to state your opinions as facts, but instead, you can educate and tell people things that you've learned. You can talk about lessons you've learned the hard way. You can talk about mistakes that you've bounced back from. Nobody's going to argue with that. Those probably won't go viral unless it's a really crazy story. But you can purposefully keep it mellow, and it will be a slower journey to growing your brand, but it'll be a safer journey. And I think of it as a metaphor. So when we're investing in a retirement account, we can do a high risk account that might grow quicker, but it's riskier. And you can do that when you're younger. Or if you're older, you can do a very low risk, slower growth, lower risk, but lower reward. So the influencer route, the inflammatory route that I've gone is the high risk, high reward, but also risky. Oh my gosh, you went viral and you were in the news, versus like play it safe. You're just trying to get a PM job or have people know your name within your company. Some ideas for content you could make or posts on LinkedIn you could do are, here's a recent win I had at work, and always be vague. Don't talk about the company. Don't talk about people's names. Don't talk about product names unless it's already on Google and public knowledge. But if you ever want to tell a story about a company that you're currently at, I usually just say a company I used to work at, and then I tell the story. But yeah, talk about lessons you've learned, talk about mistakes you've made, and what like how you've grown in the process. Talk about, your favorite tools to use. Ask questions like, are you a Primavera person or a Microsoft Project person, or a Smartsheets person, or an Office Timeline Pro person, or just plain old, you like making timelines in Excel. Like, ask people about tools they use. So yeah, a lot of content you can make as a PM growing their brand.
Nice. I love that. Those are some very, very tangible, tactical things that we can do. What about sharing stories?
Yeah, that's a great. And so, okay, the biggest issue I see with people sharing stories that they're long-winded. So our attention spans these days, especially with the scrolling, swiping world that we're in now, people have really short attention spans. So if you can start your content with some sort of hook to grab people's attention and make them want to stay until the end, you'll have a better chance. But keep your stories short. And there's a book that I really like, and I'm forgetting the title. I think it's called Smart Brevity. Yes, it's called Smart Brevity, but it's how to write without wasting people's time. I love a good TLDR at the beginning. Too long, didn't read. Like TLDR, this is how I screwed up majorly in my last job or whatever. And then people are like, oh, I got to read the rest of that. But try not to be too long-winded. Try to have a conclusion at the end, and maybe like a client, like basic storytelling rules. Have a beginning, middle, and an end. Have a climax. Have the hero's journey where you had a challenge and you learned something along the way. So to tell stories, but don't be too wordy and long-winded.
Yeah, makes sense. If somebody had just 30 minutes a week to work on their personal brand, what would you recommend they do?
So I think dipping your toe in the pool of personal branding is great by commenting. So go on LinkedIn, so if we're doing 30 minutes a week, you could do 10 minutes a day, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That's 30 minutes a week. And try to do 15 comments every day on LinkedIn, 3 times a week. And you're commenting on other PM's content. And you're not just commenting, great post, thanks. You're commenting your real thoughts. I agree, here's why. Or great post, here's what I'd add. Or I politely disagree, here's what I think instead. So that's a good way to start if you don't want to make your own content, because a comment is technically content. But I would say don't reshare. I do not like seeing reshares on LinkedIn. When somebody just clicks reshare, it's the lowest effort you could do. And you're not stealing somebody else's content, but you're like giving somebody else a microphone. Take the microphone for yourself and comment on somebody's thing.
Yeah, no, I really like the idea about just commenting. Commenting is an underrated strategy, and
yes,
when you do that, for many posts on LinkedIn, they don't get as many engagement, or even if they do, not many people comment. So when you comment, you're gonna be visible, right? Especially if you're commenting on like PM's posts or people that hire PMs. Like, you have all these industry leaders that, if you look at many of their posts, they're not influencers, right? So you would stand out. So first of all, they will know that you've commented on their posts. And also other people that respect and follow them would also see that you've commented on your post. And just doing that regularly, you will become a familiar face, right? So I think that strategy is really good. And yeah, some people get opportunities from just commenting, right? Because you have a nice headshot, you have your headline there, which is visible, and you're, in that, I don't know how many characters that shows up, maybe 18 characters. You've just said your one line, your motto or whatever, and then that would intrigue people, and then they would click on your profile and then see what you have to offer, right? So I think, yeah.
And I did get a tip so I have 3 LinkedIn learning courses on LinkedIn, and I've worked with a lot of people at LinkedIn to produce these courses, and I got a tip, almost like a secret from one of them about the LinkedIn algorithm. So she told me that you will not grow as fast if you're posting every day on LinkedIn as you will if you're commenting every day, because LinkedIn algorithm favors people putting the social back in social media. So they would rather see you commenting than posting if you're going to do one or the other. Obviously, they'd love a combination of both so that you're also contributing content to the platform.
Nice.
But she told me a recipe of like one piece of content per week, but then commenting for 10 minutes a day will help you grow faster than a post every day and commenting once a week.
Yeah. No, that's really good. And the thing is that commenting is very low effort, right? It is, you agree and then, or you agree, this is why, or like you mentioned, I have a different take on this. Here is why, right?
Yeah.
So really love that.
Yeah.
Well, I could keep on going, but I want to respect your time. So if the listeners or the people watching want to get a hold of you, Ali, how can they do that?
LinkedIn is my favorite right now.
Okay.
I'm on there. I check my DMs all the time. So if you're listening and you want to connect with me, and here's another tip. If you ever try to connect with somebody on LinkedIn, always write a personalized message.
Mm-hmm.
I have only been accepting connections that have a personalized message. I don't know about you, but write me a message. Let's connect. Tell me what you learned about the episode. Tell me what you're going to commit to creating for your personal brand. And I'm excited to see what you're going to make.
Nice. Thank you so much, Ali. It's been fun and I learned a lot myself.
Awesome. Thank you, Mukhtar.
Take care.